Hi and welcome back to Chef Hacker Kitchen. Today we're going to make matzo ball soup. We're going to go ahead and make the matzo balls, and we're also going to make the broth. And for the broth, we're going to hack it with an old Greek trick, which is we're going to take the chicken stock or the chicken broth that we're using, and we're going to add lemon juice to that. And that'll give the broth such a wonderful character. I think you're going to love it. So let's get started. All right, so let's start with the matzo balls. We need a half a cup of matzo meal. We need 2 eggs that we're going to beat slightly. We need 2 tablespoons of fat. You can use oil, but I prefer to use chicken fat. I'll tell you more about that later. We need 2 tablespoons of water or chicken broth. And we need about, I guess that's about a teaspoon of salt. And that'll be for our matzo balls. Now, for our soup itself, for the broth, we're going to use about 3 quarts of chicken broth or chicken stock. Again, if you take a look at the website for chicken broth, you'll find out how we get the broth and also the fat. We need about a 1/4 cup each, more or less. The exact amount is not important, but we're going to have celery, carrot, and onion. And then I like to use about half a cup to a cup of chicken meat that's been boiled. Now in this, you could use a chicken breast to do that, or in this case, this comes from the trimmings after we made the broth. So go ahead and take a look at that. And then the hack in this one is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice when the soup is just about done, and that's going to add that bright character that we talked about. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so let's see just how easy this is. We're going to go ahead and we're going to beat our eggs just a bit, like that. We're going to go ahead and add our water. I'm going to add in our two tablespoons of fat, and this is chicken fat that I went ahead and just melted slightly in the microwave for about 8 or 10 seconds. I'm going to put the salt in there. And lastly, I'm going to incorporate the matzo meal. So now, when you first make this, it's a little bit thin. And you have to be careful because the first inclination would be to say, oh my gosh, that's too thin. I better add some more matzo meal. But this is going to chill in the refrigerator for about 20 to 30 minutes, and over that period of time the meal is going to absorb just about all of the water, and it'll be perfect to go ahead and form into the matzo balls and drop in boiling liquid to finish cooking. Okay, so I cover it up with a plate or with saran wrap or whatever you have, and into the fridge it goes. So while the matzo meal is resting in the refrigerator, we're going to go ahead and set up a pot for boiling water. We're going to add a little bit of salt to it, maybe a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons. And that's what we're going to go ahead and cook the matzo balls in later on. But since it takes a little while for water to get boiling, we're going to go ahead and set the pot on the stove right now. Okay, and we're going to add about, maybe 2 tablespoons of salt. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our broth. First we're going to saute our mirepoix, and I'm going to use a little bit of the chicken broth to do that. Normally we use fat, but in this case I really prefer to use the chicken broth. I don't want a lot of fat in my matzo ball soup. So we'll heat that up a little bit. Once that's hot, we'll go ahead and add in our vegetables. And we're going to saute them for a bit, and then we're going to let them sweat. This develops the flavor of the vegetables. Now I'm going to put in a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm going to put the lid on and lower the flame for about 30 seconds to let that, particularly the pepper, go ahead and expand throughout the flavor. So let flavor expand throughout the vegetables. Okay. Should do it. And now we'll add our stock, and we have about 3 quarts. Now the beauty of working with this chicken broth is that there's just such a lot of flavor in it that you really don't need to do much to the soup. Go ahead and turn that up to high. I'm going to bring that to a boil, and then I'll turn it down and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. Okay. The matzo meal has been resting for about 30 minutes in the fridge, so as you can see, it has firmed up nicely. Now I have here a bit of water for my hands because this is going to stick to my hands. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and take 8 portions, make 8 matzo balls out of these, and they'll be, I don't know, maybe about an inch in diameter. I'm not really sure, but I think that's about what it'll be. So you kind of grab them. You grab a bit and you just roll them, and that's really all you have to do. Now, when you look at these, you may say, "Oh my gosh, these things are too small. I'm not going to be." But as they cook, and they're going to cook a long time, about 30 minutes in salted boiling water, they're really going to puff up and get nice and light, and they won't quite double in size, but they'll be pretty close to being double in size. So that's what we're going to do with these. Okay, so it kind of looks like I got about 6 out of this. I maybe could have made them a bit smaller, but I think they're going to be perfect. All right, so the water has come to a boil. The matzo balls are ready. So I'm going to go ahead and take each of these matzo balls and gently lower them into the simmering pot. Again, this is just water with some salt in it. And we're going to wait for this to come back to a boil. Matzo balls will float. And there they go. And then we're going to put a tight-fitting lid on them, reduce it to a simmer, and let these matzo balls cook for about 20 to 30 minutes. I actually prefer 30 minutes. It seems like a lot. You're saying, well, gee, it's just matzo meal. But it really does take a long time to get cooked through thoroughly. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on that. Set our timer for 30 minutes. And I'm going to watch it closely to make sure that we don't boil over and we don't stop simmering. Okay. Okay, the matzo balls are cooking. The soup has been simmering for about 20 minutes. So that's ready. Let me just taste it for salt and pepper. Yeah, that's perfect. At this point, if it needed salt or pepper, I could add it, but it doesn't. It's fine. And if I had any fresh parsley, I would probably chop up and add some fresh parsley, but I don't have any, so we're not going to do it. So I'm going to take our chicken meat, dump that in, give it a stir. I'm going to turn the flame up to high again so it returns to a boil. Now I'm going to add the hack ingredient, which is my 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Okay, and again, that's going to give it a nice bright taste. So I'll give that a stir, let it come to a boil, turn it off, and we'll wait for our matzo balls to be ready. Now, normally when the matzo balls are ready, if I was going to eat all 6 or 8 of them, whatever we had, I'd just transfer them right from the pot into the soup and then I'd serve it. But these are more than my wife and I can eat tonight, so instead I'm going to drop them into some cool water so that they'll cool down, at least partially. A few of them I'll put in there, and the rest I'll go ahead and add to the soup. Okay, we're back to a boil. And so I can go ahead and turn this soup off until the matzo balls are ready. Okay, the matzo balls have been cooking for 30 minutes, so they're done. And as I said, normally we could dump them just put them right into the soup. But we're not going to eat all of these matzo balls. We'll probably just eat 4 of them. So I'm going to take 2 of them, and I'm just going to drop them into this cold water, and then I can put them in the fridge later. Now remember I said earlier that we made them kind of small, but look how much they puffed up once they're cooked. So I'm going to put 2 of these in a bowl, and I'm going to go ahead and put some soup over them. And this is a really rich broth made from chicken fat. So go ahead and look up that video, chicken fat. And so there is matzo ball soup. So that's matzo ball soup hacked with a little Greek trick, the addition of some lemon juice right at the end that adds a brightness that I know you're going to love. So go ahead and try and make this, and if you do, send us a picture or a video of your own, okay? And while you're at it, if you like this video, please go ahead and like the video, and why not subscribe so you always know when we have new videos. We got a bunch more coming up, and I hope to see you very soon, okay? See you next time in Chef Hacker Kitchen.